Hey guys, Danny here, and welcome to the ABCs of ADHD podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about hyperfocus, what it is, how it works, can you control it, and if you can get rid of it. Hyperfocus is a thing that a lot of people with ADHD experience, but not everybody. It's when you get obsessively into something and you can't move your attention away from it. Now, a lot of people seem to think that ADHD is about a deficiency in attention, probably because of the name. But the name is a misnomer. We don't lack attention. Rather, we have difficulty controlling it. We have attention dysregulation. And this means we have trouble focusing on what we want to do, shifting our focus away from things, stopping our focus. This is called perseveration, and this is essentially hyperfocus. And we also have difficulty filtering out stimuli. So if there's someone talking in the other room and you can't stop focusing on it, also a part of ADHD. I like using the analogy of a carousel or a merry-go-round for kids, the ones that you have to push yourself. It's hard to get it moving, but once you start and it picks up speed, it becomes very hard to control or to stop. Now, as I said, hyperfocus is when you obsessively focus on something, and you can't move your attention away or stop it because of the attention dysregulation. This usually happens with things that you enjoy doing. For me, I love reading, so I often tend to hyperfocus on reading. Now, you might have heard entrepreneurs and sports people and business people refer to ADHD as their superpower, and it's usually for this reason. The entrepreneurs have businesses where they pursue something they enjoy doing. The sports people with their sports, different kinds of artists with their different arts, so they find it quite helpful. Now, I can see where they're coming from, but I don't consider it my superpower. Most of the experiences I've had with hyperfocus is usually negative. And even the positive ones, well, it's because I don't have full control over my attention. And that's kind of scary. Now, the next question is, can you learn to control your hyperfocus? Can you learn to induce it? And the answer is, not really. The entire shtick of hyperfocus is that we have difficulty regulating our attention. Now, yeah, the entrepreneurs, the business people and all that, they tend to be able to hyperfocus on what they want because they're pursuing their interests. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that privilege. Whether it's for monetary reasons, family reasons, where they live, hell, mental health. People with ADHD tend to have bad mental health. A lot of people don't have the privilege to pursue the thing that they love. And because of that, I can't rightly, objectively call hyperfocus a superpower, nor can I really say that you can control it. Now, even though you can't control your hyperfocus, because it usually happens when you're doing something you enjoy, you can kind of get a feel for what triggers your hyperfocus. For me, I enjoy reading and playing games, and usually the things I hyperfocus on are games or books. A lot of times when I'm reading the summary or a blurb to a book, I can kind of tell, oh, this is going to cause me to hyperfocus. I should not be doing this. I don't have the time for it. And other times I think, I have a couple of hours, I have a couple of days, I'm not doing anything, might as well hyperfocus. Now, this doesn't always work. You don't have control over it. So you can, if you figure out your triggers, you can kind of tell, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this. This will cause me to hyperfocus probably. Now, most of the experiences that I've had with hyperfocus are negative. Two of them are the scariest for me. Both of them happened doing things that I enjoyed. One of them was reading, and the other one was drawing. The first one is when I hyperfocused so hard on this book, this online novel called Worm by Wildbow. I stayed up 50 hours without eating or sleeping because I was so obsessed with this book. And honestly, it's a good book, but my friends actually had to come over and cook for me and make sure I ate it because I was so hyper-focused and so obsessed. The second one was when I was hit with this inspiration and I had to draw this angel. And I drew this 5-foot angel on my wall, my bedroom wall, and I stayed up around 7-8 hours, and I finished the next morning at around 3 or 4, and I hadn't slept or eaten. Oh God. Now both of those things happened doing something I enjoyed, reading and drawing, but because I had so little control over them and because they were so obsessive, eesh. And can you get rid of hyperfocus? Well, kinda, technically, not really. It's a big part of the attention dysregulation for a lot of people. Now, personally, and from what I've read, meds really do help. Usually, when I'm on meds, I rarely hyperfocus, and even when I do, I usually snap out of them pretty quickly. Now, I kind of had a change of heart when I was doing research for this episode. I thought all of my experiences were negative, but I realized that the last minute cramming that I did before an exam, when I used to study for just 3 to 4 days and pass because of it, that was hyperfocus. Now, the reason I wasn't able to focus was because of my ADHD, but I can kind of see where people who like the hyperfocus are coming from now. And I guess it's like ADHD in general. I don't consider ADHD a gift or a curse. It just is. Our brains work differently, and that's all it is. And I guess it depends on perspective. Hyperfocus can be a good thing or a bad thing, and it really depends on our perspective, our state of mind, and our mental health. Now, a couple of notes though. If you do enjoy hyperfocusing or if you find it beneficial, set up a system with your friends, your family, so they can kind of snap you out of it when you should be doing something else, or set up alarms, some way that you can actually be brought out of your hyperfocus. You don't want to be ignoring important things because you're so obsessively focused on something. And that is it for this episode. If you guys have been following me on YouTube or any of the podcast apps, you would have noticed that I've been on hiatus for the past couple of months. I was quite busy. I had exams. I moved countries. I used to live in Ireland, and now I live in Scotland. I'm pursuing a master's in Glasgow. And I kind of want to get back into making these kind of media. I tried video, but video is so difficult. I have to do all the research, write the script, and when I'm filming, I have to make sure I look good. I have to focus on the camera. I have to make sure I'm not, breathing into the microphone. I have to make sure my face is moving, and it's a lot to do, and I also have to edit and all that, and it's just so much work. But podcasts are significantly easier because I only have to research and kind of write down some points. I hope you guys found this kind of halfway listenable. I don't have a set script. I'm just kind of freestyling, which makes it significantly easier for me to do and want to continue on doing. I have a good 50 topics or so that I've listed that I want to talk about, hopefully once a week. If you guys want to get updates between the episodes, you can follow me on Twitter, ABCs of ADHD. And I think that's everything. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully.